Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Grab a cold one, crank up the volume, and join the show. Welcome to NVNR Live. Here we go.
It's no block, no rock.
We are no block, no rock. We are here with the latest edition of Cornhusker Counseling. We are here to talk about the Ohio State close loss. Something that we've become familiar with.
It's a familiar feeling, isn't it?
Come take a seat. Let's talk about it, guys. Let's talk about it. I've never witnessed as a Husker fan back-to-back weeks where you go in expecting one thing and the total opposite happens. Indiana did not expect that. Not in a million years.
No.
Coming in Ohio State, we expect an utter shucking. Didn't happen. So back-to-back weeks where we expected one thing, got the total opposite thing. Let's start with positives, some triumphs. Which triumph do you want to address first? Who do you want to shine light on first?
Let's talk. I mean, the elephant in the room has to be the black shirts. They came back. They're back in black. Didn't look pink yesterday. Yep. And I think they delivered an effort that was something to hopefully build off of, and it was a performance that you could actually be proud of as a Husker fan, given what happened last week, where you seriously probably want to stick your Husker gear in a closet. And I think that's probably the best triumph to talk about to start.
The guy that comes to mind immediately. Kyle, who do you got? Which specific black shirt do you think I'm thinking of?
I'm going to have to say Jamari Butler.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That dude came to play. He was all over the field. 10 this, 10 that. He was a guy that last week, he has those comments after the game about this team hanging their head when things don't go their way. And you would have never thought that he was thinking that last week because he had his hair on fire, just like the rest of the black shirts. But that defensive line in general, I would say, played very, very well. You guys, Ohio State only had 2 yards per carry.
That was dominance. Absolute dominance. The third quarter alone, they held Ohio State to 24 yards? The entire quarter. Yeah. You absolutely kicked Ohio State in the mouth.
They did.
And they were doing nothing about it. The fans were booing Ohio State the entire second half until that last touchdown. They were getting booed. Their own fans, the boo birds were out. They were booing for Ryan Day to get fired.
So there's this kind of I don't want to say it's a debate because that's a strong word, but I think it was pretty clear watching that game that Ohio State did not play their best game.
Yeah.
Okay. So then it becomes, all right, well, was Ohio State the unprepared, coming off a bye week, by the way, the unprepared, mentally not their team, or was it the black shirts? Do we give credit to this defense for making Ohio State look pedestrian for the most part?
Sure. And I mean, you start looking at this defense. I mean, they held Ohio State to 1 for 10 on third down.
1 for 10.
1 for 10 on one of the most explosive offenses in the country. So, and part of that, I think, came from the most of the game. It was kind of like vanilla. They kept just trying to run it. I don't think they expected Nebraska. I think at some point they expected Nebraska just kind of quit and they'll just kind of, their talent will overcome whatever Nebraska's doing on defense. And that last scoring touchdown, it seemed like they just kind of opened up the playbook a bit. They started getting a little creative and they started to throw the ball around. And that was my number one concern was like, oh yeah, like they know they have to score. So they're just going to start like getting crazy with it. They're not going to run on the predictable second down or third down. Like they're not, if they're on 3rd and 2, they're not just going to try to run it. We kept stuffing them on that. Mm-hmm. That last drive for them, I was like, we're probably not going to see them being very vanilla. We're probably going to start seeing them use their stars and, whatever.
Well, that 4th and 1, you're talking about like predictable situations throughout the game. They kept running that 4th and 1 quarterback sneak was getting like 3 to 5 yards. And that 4th and 1 where the Blackshirts could have made a stop and probably ended the game. They line up looking like they're going to do a quarterback sneak and they run a little out of the shotgun. They run a little route out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Throw a first down and it keeps the drive alive. So it's one of those things you thought that maybe he'd run up, snap the ball, take the yards that they're going to give him, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, Nebraska gets off to that lead, and it was, you could tell that Ohio State, and especially, Will Howard, like that was the drive where he started using his legs more, getting out of the pocket, running, and it was, we talk about how mobile quarterbacks, it's a bugaboo for every defense, not just Nebraska's defense. And so then you see Will Howard doing his thing, running around, and it's like, damn it. Like,
finally.
Like, you get the lead, Nebraska, and like, you're outplaying them.
They outplayed them for 3 quarters.
Can you get one more stop? Can you just do it?
Yeah.
But then Ohio State started doing different things, and like, you could, like you said, Kyle, they opened up that playbook and started using their wide receivers a lot more than they were before.
Yeah.
Well, he just had more time. I think that was one thing too, where all game that defensive line, we were talking about triumphs. That defensive line was just so dominant, especially with their backup left tackle, and they were dominating that left side of that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and that particular drive was finally the time where they held up enough for Ohio State to get the offense moving.
Yeah,
and that sucks, but. That's what happens when your offense just can't give you enough.
Yeah. And we'll get into that a little bit.
Sure.
And we've got a super chat from Coach BA.
Yo,
shout out BA.
$4.99. Appreciate you, BA. Says, I will truly know how I feel about this game in a week, which is a cop out. I know. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think
I
think
love that
bad.
No,
answer.
listen, I feel the same exact way, BA, but go on.
Yep. He says, but if we go play great and win next week, this game looks good in my opinion. Now, and what I'll say to this is that comes back to your expectations versus reality, Jared, where last week you expect playing an Indiana team that hasn't played anybody, Nebraska's going to win. We're going to show them what a great defense looks like, and you get absolutely blown out. The expectation did not meet the reality. And then this week, the expectation is, well, of course, Ohio State's going to blow out Nebraska. They're Ohio State. They've got a $20 million roster. They're full of 5 stars, 4 stars. Like, of course, they're a top 5 team. And then the reality didn't meet. So I think on one hand, the black and white answer, if we're going through this like whole counseling process, the black and white is it's still a loss. You still lost the game. It was a close loss. We've seen it 100 times now. But you can still be proud and still be happy about how the game played out and how the boys played. So, BA, I think to your point, like right now, for me, I think the game looks good because the reality did not meet my expectation of getting absolutely blown out.
Yep.
So on the basic level, I'm proud of how the effort looked and how the game played out and how everybody played. And we'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, just saying what BA said, like with UCLA, I think Matt Rule's press conference, he pretty much says like, yeah, if we go in next week and we don't build off of it, then it's all for naught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that is 100% how I feel too. I think I'm not one for moral victories. We are way past that point. We're a blue blood program. We're not here to get moral victories.
Matt Rule said it himself.
He said it himself. But if that is actually a building block, and that is actually what championship caliber football looks like, and that's what they want to do moving forward, then I am 100% on board with the way that they played, and I could take that one on the chin. But you have to build on it. You're playing an inferior team in UCLA next week. I want you to show that you are the better team. I want you to play exactly like you played this week, and don't deliver a dud like you have against inferior teams, like you've done this year.
Yeah. It's easy when that clock hits 0 and, Connor is not here. And in our group chat, I was mad. I was angry. Okay. I was, because it was right there.
And everybody gets one, right?
Everybody gets one. Every other team can get an upset. Every other team can beat a team that they're not supposed to. And it was right there. And of course, people are talking me off the ledge. Oh, just chill out. It's a number 4 team, etc. I'm like, let me be angry for a second and say dumb things. I didn't say anything dumb on Twitter or anything like that. But in this group chat between us, let me be angry.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I don't need your freaking permission to be angry. Okay. I'm invested. But yeah, just let me be in my feels. Okay. Let me be pissed off. Please.
Well, you say you were pissed off.
I'm going to work through it eventually. Okay.
And that's why we're here, right?
That's right.
Okay. You say you were pissed off, but I got a phone call from our good friend Sam Hahn. Called me immediately right after the game. And he tells me this. He says, well, I just found out today that I would rather be sad than mad. Coming off the loss last week to Indiana, we were all mad. These 2 episodes between Cornhusker Counseling and No Block, No Rock, we just sat in a room. We're negative the whole time. We're yelling and we're just mad at the world. And then we go back to this familiar feeling of a close loss. And I am 100% with Sam Hahn on this. I agree. I would much rather be sad than mad. So I hope that this team does build off of that, because, it does suck to get punched in, take one on the chin like we did against Ohio State. But if this is a building block, I'm fine. And I'll be happy. I think you have to be sad before you can be happy, right?
Yeah.
And don't be mad. Like, look, I don't think you have to be mad. Like, you can be mad that we didn't make one more play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sad is more the definition of this game versus mad, which we were last week. I mean, we were hot last week.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Go on, Kyle.
Yeah. I think in that aspect, right? Like, I'm sad about the result. I'm sad that it went down like that. But there are aspects that we can be mad about.
Oh,
and
100%.
We're going to get into it.
And we will get into the traumas, because there are traumas in this game, guys.
Yeah.
I think part of my anger, and you said you're more sad. Look, I think it's just me. I'm just usually mad about stuff. Okay. That's just my natural. Even when I'm happy, I'm not really happy. I'm just angry. I think part of the reason why, though, is because
you need counseling.
I need this. I should be listening to us, not talking. Okay. You need to be my counselor. Like I was saying, part of the reason why I am mad or was mad, I'm not mad anymore. Okay. I think I've pretty much reserved to the fact of BA saying I need to see next week before I can like retrofit my feelings about this game. Because I have seen this a million times. Okay. People are going to bring up the 2018 Ohio State game when the Scott Bleep team goes to Columbus and it's 36-31. People are feeling good. And what did it ultimately result in? Was it a launching pad for future success?
No,
it wasn't, right? And so now the question becomes, well, you have a similar thing where the team is competitive against a team that should have knocked your block off, but didn't. You showed up, played with your hair on fire, with emotion, didn't make too many mistakes like you usually do. Now, is it a Matt Rule coach team that can take advantage of this and create it and make it into a launching pad game? I'm sitting here right now in this chair, and I think it's fair to say that Matt Rule is a better coach than Scott Bleep.
You'd hope so, right?
So that's why I'm not as like if this was a Scott game, then yeah, I would still be mad because it's like, dude, again.
Here we go again.
The loss again.
But we can't put it on him. We cannot put this on Matt Rule.
No.
Because he has not. I mean, we had a lot of close losses last year, and some of it felt the same. But we can't put that dirty laundry on Matt Rule and this staff because this is a whole different regime. And he actually has the stats to back up that he has turnaround programs.
Mm-hmm.
He has done it. He said it yesterday. He's like, maybe I'm crazy. I like to go into these bad situations and I have to deal with stuff like this. But that's what I felt like I'm here to do. Like, that's what I felt like that's my job.
So if Nebraska does not use this as a launching pad and beat UCLA, okay, not make it a 3-point loss, okay, we're done with that. If it becomes a loss against UCLA, then you best believe I'm taking that dirty laundry that is piled up on my chair or whatever you have it, and it's going to become a rule thing, okay? But we're not there yet. Another positive, okay? I cannot imagine. Listen, there have been terrible starts for this Nebraska team. Like at the beginning of games,
Every game.
This was another where it was like,
whoa, it's Buttergate. Buttergate 2024 is what I called it, because it seemed like everybody that handled the ball in that first possession dropped it. It was like, it literally, the punter, the kickoff return, the fumble, it was like somebody grabs the ball and it was moving around in their hands.
there goes.
Yeah.
Overcame all that crap.
Oh, yeah.
Overcame it. Okay. So that's a positive. Okay. They didn't just wither and say, well, I guess today just isn't our day.
I thought it was going to be like that.
You know?
And they shut that down pretty quick.
Overcame. That's a positive. Another one. I'm in the middle of making a video right now. John Hole. 3 for 3.
That is,
Let's go.
I mean, that has to be our Caniglia's chef kiss, is John Hole delivering 3 for 3, 56-yarder.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird how once you get the confidence, it's contagious. And then it's just like a normal thing. And it makes you kind of believe what Matt Rule and Ed Foley and all these people are saying, that this stuff actually happens in practice. They actually make them in practice, because it looked like they were actually practicing. The snap, the hold, the kick, everything was executed perfectly.
I do want to say though, we did it a few weeks ago with Buscini. Like there was one hold that he had where he got it and it was a little off. Okay. Then he put it down. He got the laces on the other side. Right. I'm like, people aren't going to notice that, but I saw it, Brian. Giving you your flowers again. Excellent hold. But John Hole, like, it's amazing how he goes 3 for 3. And as an offense, you're like, okay, all hope is not lost. We can, in Satterfield, like, you might have a field goal kicker. You might. Before, you didn't.
Nope.
Okay, let's just be honest. We did not have a field goal kicker. Now we might have one. And so hopefully we can use this as again, Satterfield, feel free to call plays. Don't be scared. Raiola, you don't need to force things. Like, let's just be cool, because we might get points out of this drive. So, yeah, going forward, that's going to be very important. Big Ten games make kicks. Yeah, and they did. And
special teams as a whole, I've got this as we get a little structure here in the show. We'll kind of just talk about special teams quick. The Ed Foley criticisms and concerns that you've had all season, right? This was a game where I don't feel like necessarily he should take a whole lot of heat. That first possession, we just mentioned it, was bad. It was atrocious. The whole thing, the punter, the kickoff return, everything was bad. Yeah. But as a whole, kick coverage, punt coverage,
good,
all good.
Yeah,
3 for 3 on field goals, and I think they basically told Quentin Ives, like, hey man, you're not taking any kickoffs. You're not catching the ball ever again this game.
Yeah,
because he didn't. He just let it go in the end zone.
It literally landed maybe like a half a yard into the end zone.
Yeah,
and they were like, nope, don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Not worth it.
So special teams as a whole, I think, did what they had to do. They did what they were supposed to do. There was the one bad punt by Brian, but like I said, as soon as he caught the ball, it was like moving around in his hands, and it was just kind of a shank. It was just a really bad first outing for them. But the rest of the game, they figured it out. Yeah. They handled their business. Ohio State would be a team that I expect to like come out and have a 40-yard punt return or like a 40-yard kickoff return. And it didn't happen. So good on them.
Borderline triumph. John Hole, definitely a triumph, but the special teams unit as a whole, it's a borderline triumph. I think there's still a lot of kinks to work out.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, so Dr. Rob, he does his grades. He gave special teams an F+. Thoughts about that?
I think that's a little much. I'm just saying, like, there's multiple phases of special teams, and the fact that we were able to make field goals finally, that's 9 points.
Yeah.
9 of our points came from field goals.
Look, it's not John Hull's fault that we can't get the ball in the damn end zone.
Right.
Okay. All he can do is trot out there and kick the kick that he's kicking.
Well, this is kind of a compliment to the special teams and just the team as a whole. Like, no matter how bad things got, and we'll get into traumas, which I think the refs could probably be a trauma.
Oh, yeah.
But no matter how bad of a situation they were put in, the special teams rose to the occasion to bail them out. Like that, the phantom OPI call on Nair, right? That could have resulted in just utter disaster.
Could have.
The offense comes in, they throw a quick little out to Fedoni, get enough yards to get into field goal range, and he nails the kick. I mean,
right.
That is complimentary football. That's being resilient. When nothing is going your way, you make your own breaks. Like, I love that. That is the ultimate triumph from this game was no matter how bad things got, they found a way out of them until the end, obviously.
Yeah, and I wonder if part of that is this overcoming. Every game is its own vacuum, in my opinion. Like, every game is different. You can't, and this kind of contradicts what I was saying before, but it's just like every game is different. You can't like use past things as like, that means this, like the transitive property, right? But it's like, you're 25.5 point dogs.
Yep.
Nobody thinks you're going to win. So I wonder if that like played a part in, well, shoot, looks like these refs might not want you to win, but like, there's no pressure here, right? I mean, nobody's expecting us to win. So like, let's just freaking play. Whereas most of the time it's, well, Nebraska's favored by 3 points and they're playing for a bowl game. And so they just tighten up, but there was no yesterday. I think it's fair to say, right? Yeah. And maybe we could talk about that last drive and all that crap, but for the most part, there was no.
No, even the last drive, like you get that another debatable OPI call. I mean, I know his arm got extended a little bit, but the previous drive, they were literally pulling Barney and they said it was great coverage. And I'm like, come on now. So it goes back to just officiating as a whole, but they got put in a deep hole. And I wouldn't say that it was one of those moments because it was not self-inflicted. Banks went and made a play. Like, he had to go make a play. He did go make a play, and they call OPI on him. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. No, I hear
like
it.
They never call that stuff. You'll watch your Sunday slate today, and they will never call that on the offense. They just don't. And it happened to us twice.
Kyle.
Yeah.
You were going to say something, I thought.
Yeah, so I think, like,
we're still on triumphs, damn it.
Triumphs.
Are we good on defense and special teams?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think they played well.
Yeah, I think everything was. I don't have hardly like any notes for defense or special teams in my little Cornhusker counseling notes for whatever. Okay, offense triumph.
Go.
Okay, passing attempts 33, running attempts 33.
We love that. That's balance.
Sure. Balance. Okay. Now we'll get into the pass attempts.
Right. Some people might call those pass attempts not really pass attempts.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Dante Dowdell, 14 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown, compared to the all-star running back Quentin Judkins, who had 29 yards on 10 carries.
Quinn Sean.
Yes. 273 yards to Ohio State's 285. I mean, I can't be upset about that, considering it is Ohio State. Nebraska had a better third down efficiency, more first downs, and we dominated the time of possession. Anybody would want to take a guess at the time of possession? Dominated it.
By like 10 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was over 10. Over 10 minutes.
35-07 to 24-53. That is that's a whooping in the time of possession game. That means that you controlled the narrative of the game, basically, right?
Couple other things about the offense that are positive. And Kyle, this was our thing last week. What is your identity? You say your identity is running the ball and being big. And look, they didn't have a Liebentritt yesterday. And so you kind of figure, well, it looks like the lack of the commitment to the run game is going to continue. But Nebraska gets down by 11, and they come out and they run the ball with Dowdell a few times, or with Emmett Johnson a few times.
It works. And
it's like, yeah, and I don't even think it was like, it's not like you got any chunk yardage out of those. But I think it's that is encouraging that you didn't just turn it into a track meet right away when you're down 11 and you're feeling desperate. We got to score. Be cool. Everything is fine. You run a few running plays being down by 11 and you didn't get blown out, guys. Like, it's okay. You can run the ball still.
Right.
And so that was encouraging. Another thing too, going into the game, we didn't think Dylan Raiola was going to run at all.
Yeah. He did.
Sure. Run for 40 yards. What?
Take what they get. But that's what this offense has been missing. They've needed just that little bit. Now that's on tape too.
40 yards.
They won't spy him. It's like Mahomes running. I know that people do the comparison of Mahomes and maybe it's warranted, maybe it's not, but it's one of those things that, like, I'm sorry, even if you're Dylan Raiola, who isn't the fastest guy in the world, we watched it yesterday.
It ain't pretty.
If you're going to give him a giant running lane and the entire one side of the field to run, just take it. And it's been there all year. I'm glad he finally did that. And I think that's going to give him the confidence to continue to do it. He did it against Ohio State, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be curious now that he has done that. Like, are they still going to, are those lanes still obviously going to be there?
They're not going to spy him. They will be there all year, just like they are in the NFL. They are there for Mahomes all the time because they don't need to spy him. Why would you waste a defender to spy Mahomes?
Right.
Yeah. Dylan, run more, but please slide.
Kyle, you got some stats or something?
Slide.
Got to slide.
Got to slide.
No, but are we still on triumphs for offense? Is there anything else?
I just want to highlight
Barney was good.
I thought, Barney was good.
Dowdell was good.
Fedoni had some good plays there.
Safety blanket kind of role. He's finally getting into that 2 weeks in a row now.
Yes. What about the O-line?
I think
they were
our offensive line didn't look as bad as Ohio State's offensive line.
They outplayed Ohio State's offensive line. Now that's not saying much because Ohio State's offensive line looked terrible. I don't know. I'd say that they were definitely hit or miss. I think run blocking, there was times where they created big lanes and
weren't seen by the running back.
Pass pro was fine, but the problem was, and we'll get into the traumas, is like the play calling didn't help the offensive line either. So
let's just get into traumas then.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you got?
Oh, okay.
He said,
let's just get this out of the way because there are just people blowing up the chat about this.
Screens.
The screens.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Michael Severe, a friend of the pod, had tweeted out something about 3 hours ago and said that there were like 6 or like 4 passes to running backs that went for no yards. I think it was to Emmett Johnson.
Emmett, yeah.
And then there were 6 passes to somebody else. I'm sorry, I can't remember this, but it went for negative yards. So that means that at least 10. So he's talking about like 10 screens, I would imagine, right? And that does not account for wide receiver bubble screens and all that stuff that didn't do anything either. That means that there are double-digit plays in this game that kept being attempted, and they were not going anywhere.
Negative yards.
And then the final drive of the play or of the game to win the ball game, it's 2 screens in a row. There is the definition of insanity, and I'm not even going to attempt to say it word for word because I'll screw it up, but it's something like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I think that's roughly what it means.
Yeah, that's right.
The screen plays, and this is where, like, hey, we talked about the 33 passes, the 33 runs. The pass attempts, that means like a third of your pass attempts were going for negative yards or no yards at all.
That's pathetic.
That is so bad. And you just kept trying it over and over and over again. And that last drive, you put your true freshman in a game-winning situation on the road.
And tried it again.
Failed, and then put him in a really bad position, which ultimately ended up in an interception because Ohio State knew they had 18 yards to gain. So there is something to be said about just not changing. You got to try something else. That first half, if you've got 7 screens that didn't do anything, maybe let's try something different.
Especially that first half. there were multiple screens that kept going to Jamal Banks' side. And look, he's not a good blocker, okay?
That's a big trauma.
I
His
think
perimeter blocking is, borderline maybe the worst I've ever seen. For somebody who is that big in stature, who is honestly a very good receiver. Like, he catches the ball very well. He knows how to use his frame. But when it comes to blocking somebody,
doing the dirty work,
he does not know how to use his frame at all.
And he's a guy that comes in and, like, Rule is singing his praises all offseason about he comes in, he's setting the example for everybody else, not just the receivers, but everybody on the team. Like, this dude's a stud, right? And so when it comes to blocking, like, you would think that's where it would manifest the most, because those are the dirty work plays that, aren't seen on the stat sheet. It's like a morale thing, an attitude thing. And so it's like, do we blame Jamal Banks or do we blame the guy who keeps running it to that side over again? Like, there was I'm sorry, like, he's not a good blocker. So, and Sat, you even said that yourself, dude. You said that before this game, that perimeter blocking
has been an issue all year.
It's been an issue.
Yep.
And so, when you run these plays, guys, you need a lot of things to go right. Like, your O-line needs to be good. Your quarterback needs to pinpoint it.
Yep.
And the timing needs to be great.
And they have to catch the ball and everything else.
Yeah, and you're gonna have whether you have blocks or not, like, a lot of things need to go right. And so when you do these screens for negative yards, I can't excuse it. I want to defend Sat on this. Like, if you ask Sat, all right, well, why did you run those screens? I think he would say, because Ohio State's defense is aggressive and we're trying to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I don't know. It's not working. It didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm playing NCAA and you're going to blitz up the middle the whole time, I'm going to throw screens. Left, right, left, right, left, right.
Right.
Okay. But if that's not working and you know that perimeter blocking is an issue and that is the key component of the screen, it's just not going to work. So you have to figure out a different way. Slants, anything, do anything.
Anything else.
You brought up the slant thing. And I'm sorry, I didn't rewatch the game because, again, this was another one where I don't want to watch it again. I think, wasn't there a slant that went for like at least 8 yards?
It was there.
And this is a play that, as Husker fans, we have seen for years.
Nair almost scored on the slant. That was one of the ones that he threw it out of the middle and Nair caught it and almost got in the end zone, was down at the half-inch shot in line, whatever. But yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, for years, we watched Nebraska's defense, and I'm not saying a Tony White defense necessarily, but just Cosgrove defense, blah, blah, blah. They run these little slants in the middle of the field, and they're always open.
Right.
And, like, we did it once, and it worked. And it's like, you're not doing it again. Why don't you do it again?
Well, you know what good quarterbacks
do?
Do
it again. Right? Go on.
Good quarterbacks, they usually throw the ball where the blitz came from, right?
Yep.
Because there's nobody there, right? If there's nobody there.
Right.
And that's why slants would work. But we did it one time and almost scored on it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I was really upset about too is, okay, so we're able to run the ball, right? We finally kind of established the identity that we say we have that we haven't really done. We're running the ball pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the play action pass? Like, why is that not in the playbook at all?
Yeah. You're
finally running the ball well, traditionally with the handoff, and you can't give yourself any play action opportunities. Like, instead of running the slant against aggressive defenses, there's a couple things you can do. You can run slant plays. You can throw the ball where the blitz came from, or you can run play action. You were running the ball well. Utilize that.
Yeah.
Complementary football.
Uh-huh. And I think, wasn't Ohio State's, one of their touchdowns was off of play action? I'm pretty sure.
I think like both of them were.
Yeah. And I'm like, that shouldn't have worked.
Because they can't run the ball.
We should have done that. Why didn't we do that?
Yeah.
Isaac Gifford comes running up. Whoa, yeah, they're definitely running it, right? They're definitely running it.
I mean, being pissed off doesn't make you run faster, or, it causes you to over pursue things, apparently.
Yeah. We've got a couple super chats to get through here, both from BA. Appreciate
Shout
you
out,
again.
BA.
All right, BA.
He says, hey, back off the offensive play calling. We were one swing pass screen away from winning. Just got to keep calling it until it works. He's joking.
It's called That's called bashing your head against the wall.
Yeah, I will say there was, I think after like the second half, we were running the ball well, and I go, "Hey guys, this is a great time for a screen pass," and that one actually went for 10 yards.
Yeah, Vardy got one and actually got some yards on it.
Yeah, and then the second thing that he says is, it's in quotations: "Our perimeter blocking is an issue. Let's throw screens and swing passes all day." Right. That's the whole point.
Make it make sense.
They apparently wanted to use Saturday's game as reps to practice perimeter blocking. That's what I got from it. Was like, okay, we're not good at it, so we're going to keep drilling it. We're going to drill it all day. Although we're doing this in production, we're doing this live, like in a game. Like that's not a good thing to do.
Yeah. There's a comment here. It just says Sat calls a play where you're like, that was genius. And the next series, you're like, what WTF is he doing? And I will say that is part of the conversation where we're like, why, if you had an identity, you could lean on things.
Yeah.
And then toss in the genius, weird, like wheel routes and things like
the
that.
2-point conversion.
The 2-point conversion.
Creative as hell.
Yes.
Right. You can get creative. Oh, genius. You know, it worked. Everybody loves it. But if you don't have an identity and it just seems like you're just throwing things out there that aren't working, some are, some aren't, you don't know what, are they running it now? Are they running 4 pass plays in a row, which did happen yesterday? Like there's no like concept. There's no, I don't even know how you want to say it. There's like no
rhyme or reason or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then when there is like these 2 wide open touchdown passes that get missed, you're like, oh, dang it, Dylan. But it's like the rest of the game. You look at the whole thing and you're like, there was no rhyme or reason for what was being called at certain plays. And then, you know, you get into Dylan missing those 2 touchdown passes and you're talking about a different ball game. But, you know.
Yeah, and
it's rhythm, though. Like playing quarterback is rhythm. And it's not like you were giving Dylan enough reps down the field to make those easy intermediate throws because you were having him throw left and right all day. Like you got it. Like it sucks. And Dylan's going to make those throws later in his career. He's going to make those every single time.
Friggin' better.
But these are those true freshman things that you have to work through as a team. And you can't just say, oh, there's those 2 throws that cost us the game. Like there's so many things that happen in this game.
For sure. Gosh, and Malcolm Hartzog gets that pick and returns it to the 7. And they run 4 straight run plays and they end up not scoring. And so again, like we're not trying to say like they should run the ball every play, but it's like, who's your best offensive player?
Dylan.
So you would think just maybe one of those times, just one. I'm not saying 3 of the times, just maybe one. Roll him out, get him out of the pocket, and he'll find somebody maybe. But you ran,
or he won't, and it's okay.
Right. And I don't know. Like you said, how do I defend Sat here? How do I do it? I'm sitting here. I'm trying to, as a Sat skeptic, not a scat septic. Okay. Like I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay. He's getting paid a lot of money to do this. Matt Rule hired him because, well, why do you think, guys? Why do you think? Because he has a relationship with him.
Yeah.
Familiarity. Because he likes the way that Satterfield calls plays.
Maybe.
Like I'm trying to find a way to defend him right now. Like maybe there's a few plays here and there where like I saw Jalen Lloyd run a seam route and Dylan didn't see him and it would have been a tutty if he would have made the throw. And so, yeah, you're going to have these moments where Dylan misses throws, but it's like quarterbacks do that all the time. They miss throws all the time. Patrick Mahomes misses throws all the time. Peyton Manning, your boy, missed throws all the time.
Especially
like,
last year.
All the time. And so like, I'm just, you know, if anybody in the chat, like, what is the defense for Satterfield here?
I don't think there is much anymore, though.
I'm trying to be reasonable because you guys already know how I feel about him. I said this last year. People give me crap because you're already calling for his firing. I go, no, I'm just saying I don't see it lasting for more than 2 years. So just get rid of him while you still can.
Rip the Band-Aid off, right?
Rip the Band-Aid off. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. What is it? BA, you're a coach. Defend Sat, please.
I don't think he can though. He's
Anybody.
over Sat too. I think most of this fan base is over what Sat is doing.
Like, is it because we don't know ball?
Maybe.
Maybe we just don't know what we're talking about.
I know I watch a lot.
It's definitely a possibility that we don't know what we're talking about.
Could be.
I'm laying it out there as a possibility that we are clueless.
Yeah, maybe we don't know that you need to run the screenplay 10 times and get negative yards. We should know that that's a good game plan.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other traumas? And now look,
We got to go refs.
We got
to go refs.
I was going to say
refs or traumas.
Do we dedicate the last 20 minutes to refs? Is that what we're going to do?
I don't think we need 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But
I think we touch on the refs and then we give kind of like an overview, our overall thoughts and our prescriptions
Okay.
moving into next week.
okay.
So I do want to say though, another trauma before we get into the refs is that final drive. You know, you get the targeting to go in your favor.
Right.
Great. And I'm yelling into the camera because I fired up a live stream. I sparked up a stream because I'm like, damn, I did not see this.
It was
going
at
this way.
halftime. Halftime. He's like, I got to fire it up.
I got to get this stream ready. And so I'm yelling into the camera, right? Targeting out. And I go, effing win this game. They're throwing crap on the field. Ryan Day is throwing his headset like a madman, like Bo Pelini-esque. Go win this game. Right out of the chute. It looks like the overtime against Illinois. It's like
kinda.
the exact same thing.
false start.
Yep. You're moving back. Negative play.
Oh,
Well, it wasn't negative, but I'm saying it didn't go anywhere. So was that the moment? I don't know.
But that gets us into the next thing. If you want to talk about that drive, you talk about the OPI, you talk about the Ryan Day where they pick up the flag. He bumps into the referee and they pick up the flag. Like, I'm sorry. There are plays in entire games that refs miss. They miss holding calls all the time. They miss PI calls, all this stuff.
Sure do.
But there was just so many things that happened in this game that even the announcers, like Joel Klatt and I don't remember who the other guy was.
It was Gus.
It was Gus.
Oh, it was Gus. Yeah. Both those guys were like, what are they doing? And like the worst one and the most obvious one was Emmett going and getting those yards. And they spot the ball 4 yards behind where he landed. And then not to mention, did they spot it wrong? The clock is still running and nobody stops the game to review the spot of the play. Like, what are we doing?
There's no.
What is the point of replay? What is the point of anything if your referees are so incompetent they can't spot a football?
Yeah.
There's no defending that whatsoever.
Nothing.
That's so pathetic. But go, yes.
And listen, the incomplete catch by Nair, the dude hadn't even handed the ball to the referee yet, and they're buzzing down. Review. And then the line judge on that right before halftime, you get 2 yards, you get the first down. They spot it 4 yards behind where he landed, but the line judge is walking to mark the first down, and somehow we ended up 4 yards behind that. And that guy didn't question, like, fellas, hey, I think this might be wrong.
Nothing.
And upstairs, the review booth, they didn't look at it and say, hey, something's wrong. And then immediately following, offensive pass interference, announcers, Gus, Joel, they're like, what are they? What is this? That is not offensive pass interference. Like, and that right before halftime, that whole snafu cost us 30 seconds. And of course, in that scramble, Matt Rule's like, okay, I guess we got to get a first down now. So he's bringing his big guys on to try to get a first down. It was just chaos. The sole purpose of a referee, a unit, is to facilitate the game. It is to facilitate the game. And if that is totally backwards and totally chaotic, there is no way for a team to find any sort of success because they facilitate the game. There's no way for you to plan for that. And it was so bad that I would imagine it was trending. We talked about how dominant the defensive line was on Ohio State's offensive line and not one single holding call. Listen, we talk about it all the time. Nebraska I forget what year it was, but we were just getting holding calls on our offensive line. And that was because there was such a discrepancy between the talent level of our offensive line or the skill level of our offensive line compared to like Michigan's defense or Iowa's defensive line. And we were just getting holding calls all the time. Why? Because our guys have to hold to try to protect the quarterback.
Correct.
And Ohio State were holding to protect their quarterback.
A lot.
Not one call. Not one.
Not one. On that touchdown, there was a holding call. That Jeremiah Smith got so open because he had just enough time to throw that ball because he was getting held on the inside. Like Jamari Butler got held right in front of the referee. He was as close to you as I am to you. No flag. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's too obvious.
There's a lot of screenshots going around about all the missed calls, and like I can think off the top of my head like 5 or 6. Just I mean, look, I told my brother this, okay? He goes, but holding calls happen every play. Even me, who
you hate the ref thing. You hate it.
Like, but dude, yes, holding happens every play, but every single hold that didn't get called
was a big play.
Was literally, there was impact on the non-call. Okay, there's so many holding plays that happen where it doesn't like really affect the play. There was like 5 or 6 that really affected the outcome.
Like even their longest run, he got that cutback lane. It's because they were literally holding at the second level.
Dude, Jamari, I'm like, this is wrestling. Like he was putting a headlock.
Yes, 65 got shredded all game, and all he could do was hold. And then he got hurt.
Ja'Cory Barney coming off of a break.
Pulled. Jersey pulled.
The ball ends up, a few yards ahead of him. 4th down. Like, come on. It's like.
But yet they have the audacity to call offensive pass interference on Jamal Banks, who had to go turn his body the opposite direction to make an incredible catch. I'm sorry. That throw was put on the sideline. He was facing this way and had to go turn the opposite way to get to the ball. He used his hands to turn his body to get to the ball. This happens all game, every game on any level of football. And they called offensive pass interference.
And then that Nair one.
The Nair one was a phantom call. What are we doing?
I don't know what else to like. Is it rigged?
I don't know if it's rigged.
I don't know. Look, I am anti-rig.
Yeah,
but
so I mean, there are times in games where like you'll hear the birds, right? Tweet on the Twitter or on the X. And they're like, oh, it's rigged. And I'm usually of the notion that like, I mean, come on, it'd have to be a pretty big conspiracy to like nobody come out, to rig all these, whatever. But in instances where you are spotting the ball incorrectly on 2 different instances, it was that. Don't
forget about the goal line.
Yeah, the goal
line. And then you've also got right before half.
Jalen Lloyd.
On 2 different instances, you guys severely messed up the spot of the ball.
That affected the game.
Because Matt Rule talked about, he said, hey, on the goal line, we thought we were on the 1. So, of course, we just thought you could just jump over the pile and you're in.
And it worked. And guess what? When we were on the 1 later.
Exactly. And he was 3 inches short of reaching that ball over the goal line on that drive.
Yep. And they were at the 1.5 yards.
Because he's a yard back. Yeah. And they didn't even realize it. So it's like, it's hard to defend like the non-conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Like it's so hard to defend them on a regular game day. But yesterday it was like, whoa, like this looks super suspicious.
I've got that Bo Pelini press conference in my head, and he's talking about, why they did it. Did it for the BCS and this and that. That's what it feels like when you watch a game like this, where the Big Ten so badly needs Ohio State to stay where they're at in the top 5 and keep that storyline alive. And it sets up all the big games that are ahead with Ohio State. And don't get me wrong, they are uber talented. And did they play the best football they could play yesterday? No. But you can't
doing them favors, dude.
Right. You can't make calls that impact the game like that. The littlest things, like you said, the no calls, those ones hurt a lot. The respotting is just unacceptable. There's just so many things that happen. And the targeting thing, I'm sorry. People will say that's not targeting. In my opinion, it's not targeting because you need to make football violent again. What is that guy supposed to do when his aiming point drops down, right? That he's put in literally an impossible spot, right? And he leads with his shoulder. He doesn't lead with his head.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter.
His forearms made contact with him before any part of his body did.
But you can't make forcible contact with your forearm, with your shoulder pad. So really with nothing. You cannot hit the guy at all. And he goes and makes a play. They call targeting. And by the rules, that was targeting because it was forcible contact, no matter what. If it's a shoulder, if it's a forearm, it's a helmet.
Right.
But that is why I always say targeting is the worst call in all of sports. It's ridiculous. Like, at least in the NFL, it's a 15-yard penalty and they move on. And half the time, it's just unnecessary roughness because it was too big of a hit and they don't like that.
Another thing, too, is so the Ryan Day throwing his headset. Okay. Now, do I care that he did it? No. I don't care if you throw your headset. I like it when you're fiery. I like it when Matt Rule throws his headset. But what you've done is you've set a precedent. You set a precedent, Big Ten Conference.
Yep.
Because what happened when Matt Rule threw his headset?
He's been flagged 2 times this year. Ryan Day not only threw his headset, I mean, he technically held on to it, but he took it off his head and attempted to throw it.
Same thing.
He ran into the ref. He bumped the ref, and the ref threw the flag because he got bumped into. He didn't throw the flag because he threw his headset. He wasn't even looking at him, but he got bumped by the coach, so he threw a flag. And then you pick it up, and you honor. And this is one thing that college football needs to do something about. We talked about it a little bit last week. Apparently, you can throw stuff on the field, and there's no consequences.
It makes the game go longer. There's lulls in the game, and then it causes the refs to go, "Oh, maybe we should
do something.
We should stop the game and maybe look at plays or something."
Right?
Maybe we screwed up.
Their fans are throwing water bottles on the field, doing exactly what Texas did last week.
Right.
There needs to be a point where you can flag the fans, especially the home fans.
Flag the fans.
You have to do something to control the game. Like Kyle said, these referees, they are just
they're facilitators of the game.
They're facilitating the game, right?
Yep.
If your fan base is doing something to affect the game, where you have to stop the game and move the players for their safety and all those things, then that should be a flag. And not only was it not a flag, because apparently we just don't flag, we just reward teams for throwing crap on the field. They picked up the flag on Ryan Day after he ran into a referee.
Yep.
And Matt Rule has been flagged on that 2 times now. And I'm sorry, I don't know if you ever watched Ryan Day coach versus how Matt Rule coaches. Matt Rule usually keeps his mouth quiet, and he has 2 flags for getting fiery. Ryan Day coaches with fire all the time, and he has no flags.
He's been warned about it. Like there is record of him being like, officiating crews have penalized him in the past for doing this exact same thing.
Yep.
He did it again on Saturday. And nothing happened.
All I'm saying is, you set the precedent, Big Ten. I don't care that he threw his headset. I'm not complaining about that.
Don't care.
But you got to be consistent, right? Uphold the same standard for all your teams, whether they are going to be in the playoff or not. Okay. And if everything was consistent, that would have been an extra 15 yards.
Yeah. That would have been 30 yards of penalties. And we would have been almost in field goal range.
Like in John Hole, they were losing by 4.
Yeah, I know. But still.
But
we would have been on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let me do this real quick. Hold on.
Chugging a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew. That is something.
Psychotic behavior.
Sicko. I'm a sicko. Like, okay, this whole rig thing. Let me just say this, okay? I'm slowly turning into the conspiracy guy now. But like, what the Big Ten needs to realize is if you're going to rig against Nebraska, who has, I'll say it, the most passionate fan base in America.
We do.
You're going to rig things against Nebraska where, like, I'm not saying you're preventing success, but you are certainly a barrier, a little bit, okay? Like, you're like a tripwire.
Well, Nebraska already can't get out of their own way, so you're just adding to it.
So, like, here's what I'll say to the officiating committee, whatever. Like, you need to start doing Nebraska favors, because the more success that Nebraska sees, the more success that the conference will see.
Right.
Okay. And maybe that's, God, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to put this into words, but like, you need to start helping us. Okay.
Yeah.
Help us.
Well, you know what's crazy though?
For one, like we get it in our own way, first of all. Like, help us out, because if we start making CFPs, if we start playing in meaningful games, you're going to make money.
They're definitely going to make money. We have the most passionate fan base in America.
So, like, okay, and I know you're trying to make a point, but I just want to say, like, actually do it. Go.
Okay. We have the most passionate fan base in America. Okay.
Yeah.
You say we need to keep Ohio State afloat for the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
I say if Nebraska beats Ohio State at Ohio State, 25-point dogs, that right there, the parity in that, the program defining moment for Nebraska could honestly be bigger than a 1-loss, or now could have been a 2-loss Ohio State team. I'm just saying they want the Ohio State in the playoff and this and that, but like the parity behind Nebraska winning a big game, actually winning a close game, winning on the road, breaking all these streaks is so big.
Right.
It's weird the way that you look at it, because like, I guess on paper, it's like, yeah, Ohio State, like we need them. We need those guys. They lost to Oregon on some sliding tactics and stuff. We need them in the playoff. We need Oregon in the playoffs. Yeah. But gosh,
yeah,
it's so big if Nebraska wins that game too.
Yep. Okay, so we've got 4 minutes. Let's get to our prescriptions. I'll start with you guys. What are you prescribing to the audience after yesterday?
Oh, I got
everything that we've talked about. What are you prescribing?
This is my prescription for you guys. Kind of what we just talked about with BA. Ohio State, you can be happy about this game if Nebraska goes into Lincoln against UCLA, who is an inferior team, who has a terrible football coach, who is unqualified to be a football coach. If they go in and dominate that team, your prescription is start drinking Kool-Aid, do whatever you got to do, because I think this team could start winning a lot of games at the end of the year. I think they're better than a lot of the teams that they play. I don't think USC is very good. I think Wisconsin is hit or miss. I think Iowa is Iowa. And UCLA is the first start of that. So if you like what Matt Rule said, you like what the team did yesterday, I think this is giving you the full opportunity to buy in for the rest of this year, because I think it could be a pretty fun end of the season.
The prescription for myself is like, expect Nebraska to win. I'm talking myself from the ledge a little bit here. Like, I'm talking to myself, like in the mirror, right? Like, hey, dummy, don't be negative. Okay. Show up to Memorial Stadium on Saturday and will these guys to victory. Because dang it, it's easy to sit here and go, they're sitting at 5. They're still sitting at 5, and they're going to feel that pressure to get that monkey off their back. Okay. But dang it, man, just imagine Memorial Stadium after they get that 6 win, and that freaking monkey that's been on their back gets off finally. Like, let's freaking go. Let's bring the juice. Fans, do your thing like we did against Colorado. The team needs to meet us halfway.
Two more chances. Two more chances.
The team still needs to do their job. Meanwhile, and I'm not doubting that we will, but do your job, fans.
Okay. I'm going to prescribe something that might seem a little bit of like a reversed role on this podcast, and that is just chill out. Like,
just
it
chill.
was me.
Are you talking to me, Kyle?
It was a great performance on Saturday. I was proud of the effort. I was proud of the way that the guys played, regardless of everything that we've talked about here, between the offensive coordinator, the officiating, everything. There's 4 games left. I myself am still a little concerned. Just knowing what I know, and the history that we have,
the evidence we have is still going to drive what we do here on this podcast. I'm sorry, but you're right. Yesterday is a good moment.
My prescription is never ride too high, never ride too low. I was very low against Indiana, and I was pretty high yesterday against Ohio State, knowing damn well that this probably isn't going to end well for us in the overall scheme of a win or a loss.
Right.
So I'm not getting too high for the season. I'm not getting too low for the season. I think right now there's just a lot that needs to be proven, and I'm just kind of waiting to be proven right.
Just one last thing.
Yep.
I hate losing more than I like winning. Okay. That's why I was so mad yesterday. And in this participation trophy thing, okay, I'm not that guy. I hate it. But man, just imagine they get that 6th. Like, could it be the freaking moment?
It could.
Like,
it could be literally the thing that turns the page.
Not just for this season. I just mean
in general.
Ever. Like, going forward for years. Could this UCLA game be that moment? Dang, I'm just imagining it.
I think we'll have to talk about that tomorrow.
Okay. We're good?
We're good.
I think we're good.
All right. Well, all right. Take your sign and put your name on the sign out sheet. We'll see you next week. Husker fan.
Make sure you guys go follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, at NBNR Podcast. We make it easy for you. Just look it up.
Yep.
We will be live tomorrow at 6 p.m. right here in the studio. You can find us on our YouTube channel, Twitter, or Facebook.
All right.
Let's sign off.
I'm one of your hosts, Jared Hall.
Mike Delaware.
Kyle Byers.
See you next week.